I entered the room in the midst of your questioning Senator Kennedy, so I can't attest to what the full line of questioning is. But let me just say, as a former prosecutor, I believe laws should be enforced. They should be enforced rigorously and vigorously. A prosecutor saying that a particular statute just shouldn't be enforced across the board would strike me as wrong. But there is a great
Would you like to be a federal judge?
But there is a great deal of discretion in enforcing individual case for all kinds of reasons that members of this panel are well aware. And I think to ask a general question about prosecution certainly is your prerogative, but I'm not sure what you expected this witness to answer, given that you didn't ask about a specific case or a specific statute.
That's fair, Senator. I expected a straight answer, and I didn't get one.
Well, let me just ask Ms. Freeman, you believe in law enforcement, don't you?
Yes, I do, Senator.
As a judge, would you make sure that the laws are faithfully and fairly enforced?
Yes, I would.
And you wouldn't favor one side or another?
I would not.
You wouldn't interfere with the judgments of the prosecutor to bring a particular case, assuming that there is a legal basis for it?
I would not, Senator.
And you have spent a good deal of time as a public defender, but I assume you recognize the legitimacy, in fact, the need for prosecutors to bring cases, enforce the law, seek penalties, and make sure that the law operates as a deterrent as well as a punishment.
Yes, I do.
I was a prosecutor for a long time, and including state attorney general of my state and a federal prosecutor, U.S. attorney. I always felt that the most important decisions I made, and the most difficult ones, were whether or not to bring a case. Because all too often, that's the judgment the public makes about a person. They've been indicted, they've been charged, they must be guilty, even if they're later acquitted. So the standard that I used, and it was the Justice Department standard at the time, I suspect it still is, that you bring a case if there's evidence to show that someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is the kind of standard that I think should be enforced or followed in federal courts in terms of carrying the burden that the prosecution has, which is to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you don't have the evidence to do it, you shouldn't bring the case. Now, as a defender, you had an obligation as a defense counsel to provide a competent, effective defense, regardless of your particular liking or not about the client, the defendant whom you represented, correct?
That's correct, Senator.
That's the duty of a lawyer, isn't it?
It is.
And that's the duty that all of us have at one point or another had, because I've been a defense counsel too. And that's the way this system works, the contention, the crucible of presenting evidence. But as a federal judge, you're not on one side or the other, are you?
Absolutely not, Senator.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Next up is Senator Blackburn.